All right, good afternoon, everyone. It's 12 o'clock Central down here in New Orleans, Louisiana, Central Time Zone. 1 o'clock Eastern, 11 o'clock Mountain, 10 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock for our friends out there in London, England. No clue for our friends in Germany, Australia, Brazil, Mexico, or wherever else people may be joining us from. Just want to appreciate everyone again for participating in these sessions. It's been a tremendous amount of fun for us. It's been really enjoyable. There you go, Guillermo. 2 p.m. in Brazil. Okay. 7 p.m. Central Europe. Definitely appreciate our international participants. So yesterday's session was a very, we had a different format. I don't know if any of you were able to join. The format consisted of breakout sessions. If any of you were not able to join yesterday, or if you were able to join but could not participate in all of the breakouts, we have everything posted online now. The replay of all of the breakout sessions for each position, as well as the entire webinar. So I would highly encourage everyone to go and check out the replay of yesterday's session. Very cool concept, and I think it went rather well. Okay, today is video-based rule session number 8. I really enjoy putting these rule sessions together because I'm a rule geek and I like to read the rule book, but I don't like to just pick up the rule book and read it. I think if I did that, if anybody does that, they probably need their head examined. But what I do like to do is watch film. Love watching film. Every now and then you see something on film, you're like, wait a minute, how is that supposed to be handled? Is that the right way? Wow, they did that. They did it like that. Yeah, that is the right way. Well, let me go read the rule anyway and go check it out. So that's the type of thing that I do from a rules perspective. And I really enjoy putting these rule sessions together. And let me stop yapping. Let's get into it. We did kick plays. I know Kevin Boitman did a whole session on kick plays or kick rules. There's no way that I can match up to Kevin Boitman's level, but there's always some meat left on the bone when we're talking about kick plays. So I have 4 kick plays that we're going to talk about today. We have some instant replay aspects that we need to consider. I don't know if our replay officials, I didn't see everyone in the chat as I was logging in. So I don't know if we have any of our replay officials on today.
Carl Gertz was on bright and early 2 times.
Okay.
He's with us, man.
Carl has been a trooper. I think Carl has been on every single session that we've had so far.
His Hall of Fame induction, his virus-free virtual clinic Hall of Fame induction is coming right up.
Cool. And look at Paul Verner's here. Okay, good. Okay, well, let's get started without further ado. Play number 1, and I'm going to throw up a poll. And here's play number 1. So we just have basically a simple false start. You can notice the play clock and the game clock. Well, obviously the play clock is winding down, but the game clock is running. Okay, so we have a stop clock. And the question that we're asking, oh, I didn't publish the poll. Wow, I'm getting rusty. So the time expires in the first quarter after we enforce this penalty for false start. What is going to be the status for the next play? That's the question that we're asking. All right. We got votes coming in. I'm going to end a couple more seconds and I'm going to end the poll and we'll talk about it. Get your votes in. All right. Ending the poll. About 70%, rounding error, obviously. About 70% of us said we're going to start the second quarter. 30% of us said we're going to extend the quarter for an untimed down. So I know for me personally, I used to always say, well, the quarter can't end on an accepted penalty. And that may be true, but that's not always true. And let's go to the slide and we'll look at what the rule says. And you all have to forgive me. I'm gonna fire my secretary this week. The slideshow is not up to par, up to my normal standards. So extension of periods. A period shall be extended for an untimed down if one of the, or more of the following occurs during a down. And that's the key point. During a down. That penalty or that foul occurred during dead ball action. So it is not during a down. And let me try to underline it. During a down. Okay, so that is the key point that we need to make here. That foul occurred during dead ball play. So the period is not going to be extended for the untimed down because the foul did not occur during the down. Now let's give another scenario. Let's say instead of that false start, we had a play. Let's go back to the video. Let's say, for example, that we had a play. How do I turn this doggone thing off? Okay, turn whiteboard off. Let's say the previous play was a play that had a holding penalty, and we enforced the holding penalty. Clock stopped at 4 seconds. It was a running clock. We decided to wind the clock and keep going. And then the quarter ran out. Would we extend the quarter or would we not? Well, again, if we go back to what the rule says, a down in which time expires. So that's what we need to consider. Did the time expire during the down, and was there a live ball foul, an accepted penalty for a live ball foul during that down? So that's the distinction that we need to make, and we need to be very specific sometimes when we're thinking about the rules. And that's one thing that I have learned over time. You can't just be general sometimes with these rules. Yes, if you say, well, a period can't end on a with an accepted penalty, that may be true, but that may not always be true. So that's the point to make on play number 1. All right, let's go to play number 2. Start the video and let's get our poll. Okay, so here's the play, and basically we're just asking you, what is the result of the play? And the play will loop a couple times, and you'll get to see what happens. And I'm not going to give any editorializing. Just take a look at it yourself, see, and then let us know what is the result of the play. There's a very good look right there. And we still got some votes coming in. We're going to let the votes come in. All right, I'm going to end the poll soon. Getting ready to end the poll. All right, poll ended. So 38% of us said this is a safety. 18% of us said it is a touchback. And 43% of us said put the ball at the 1 yard line. So out of the three options, there's one of the options where there's no way it can be, right? And that option is a touchback. There's no way it can be a touchback, and let's look and see why. What is the definition of a touchback? It is a touchback when the ball becomes dead, out of bounds behind the goal line, or becomes dead in the possession of a player behind his own goal line, and the attacking team would be the team in possession of the ball. Or not the team in possession of the ball. The attacking team would be like the offense. Let me say it better that way. And the attacking team is responsible for the ball being there. So in this play, the attacking team is the team in possession of the ball. So basically what we're saying, if this is a touchback, we're saying team A is responsible for the ball being in the end zone. So if we look back at the play, there's no way that team A could be responsible for the ball being in the end zone. And why is that? Because team B clearly has possession of the ball in the field of play prior to going into the end zone. So the only way we could make this a touchback is if the team B player recovered the ball in the end zone after the ball was loose in the end zone. One thing that we can do, and I learned this from Brandon. One thing I learned from Brandon, I probably only learned one thing from Brandon because honestly, Brandon's not that smart. But I learned one thing from Brandon. As a referee, let's make sure that we make announcements that are sufficient enough to convey the actual ruling on the field and descriptive enough to allow our instant replay officials to get involved if necessary. And I'm going to take it a step further. If we get into a huddle, and let's say the umpire in this situation says, I got a touchback. So then what we need to think about is, okay, well, how I'm gonna say this announcement? What am I gonna say? And I would probably say the ruling on the field is a fumble by the offense recovered by the defense in the end zone. And then as soon as I say that, I'll start thinking, wait a minute, did the defense recover this ball in the end zone? And that can kind of help us get to a point where we're starting to think about what actually happened on the play and then start thinking about the rule application as well. All right, so let's go back. We said it's not a touchback. Is it a safety? Is it B first and 10 at the 1? So we're saying either it's momentum or there is no momentum. That is something that we're going to leave up to judgment. And I know you're going to be looking to me for an answer on that. I don't have an answer. I have an opinion. But that's something that as a covering official, we have to make that judgment. Did the player's original momentum carry him into the end zone? Or did he run into the end zone on his own with no momentum after gaining possession of the ball in the field of play? So that's the considerations that we have to have. And before I go to the next poll, Brandon, I'm sure there's some questions in the chat. Brandon or Daniel, I'm sure there's some questions in the chat to discuss.
Yeah, well, let's talk about making this announcement and what's needed. Or let's go through the process of, because I think you were really alluding to assuming the ruling was a touchback, right?
Correct. I was the whole conversation I was making was based on us saying that this is a touchback.
Okay, perfect. So let's break down how the communication would flow. You know, I don't think as a referee, you talk about the referee making the announcement, you're not really going to have all the pieces on here. And so the umpire is going to, let's just say for argument, the umpire signaling touchback or whatever. Yeah, I think we're going to conference on this play, don't you? I mean, it's kind of
We
a
are,
weird play.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Right.
if the umpire says I have a touchback, as a referee, I'd say, okay, so basically what you're saying is there was a fumble and it was recovered in the end zone by the defense.
Right.
And if somebody else is there, they might say, no, wait a second. No, he just stole the ball out of the guy's hands. He stole the ball out of the runner's hands.
Right.
So hopefully now as a referee, you're thinking, well, how can we have a touchback if the defense stole the ball out of the runner's hands? That would be a touchdown. You know, there's a runner with the ball in the end zone, and if he got the ball still out of his hands, that would be a touchdown, not a touchback. Okay, so then we would really have a lot to talk about, right?
That's correct.
And so we just, like you said, we really can't have a touchback here if, in fact, the information we have is, no, the defender stole the ball out of the runner's hands. And so we just have to understand and be able to put those pieces together, you know, on the field, because it would really be unfortunate to announce something like, you know, the ruling on the field is the runner was stripped by the defender, resulting in a touchback. Well, that's actually, I mean, that's impossible. That's literally impossible.
Right. Right.
So if that's why we talk about looking at plays and putting and layering, you know, rules over the top of these plays, you know, that helps us get, you know, now to the right answer. So.
Right. And so you are a little bit more eloquent than me, but I think my main point is when I learned that from you about make sure you craft your announcement properly. If I'm a referee and I'm getting ready to craft my announcement, and as we're sitting here in the huddle and we're talking about what happened on the play, I'm of course already kind of thinking about, okay, what am I going to say here? If I'm crafting my announcement and I'm getting ready to say touchback, and then we're sitting here talking, so then I ask a clarifying question. Well, hold on. So what I was attempting to say is, as I'm crafting my announcement, I'm realizing that maybe we need to have a little bit more discussion about what actually happened on the field during the play.
Right. And, you know, and I think we're getting some folks talking about, isn't this forward progress? Okay, maybe. I mean, but if that's the case, then we should have never got to touchback in the first place. We need the line of scrimmage people to come in hard, you know, and not just stay out on the sideline watching all this unfold. If you've got forward progress, sell forward progress, and we're done. Because then all we can do with forward progress is, in terms of what's reviewable, replay can say, well, when his forward progress was stopped, was the ball breaking the plane of the goal line? And the answer is obviously no. So, so forward progress is a good thought on this play, but not really. I mean, that's just going to have to be made and sold as a judgment on the field, you know? So, and again, we're not going to get it right, wrong, or indifferent.
Right. And and that's kind of the point that we've been hammering home. We're not here to talk about judgment at all. We're here to talk about process. And then on these Sunday sessions, we're here to talk about the rules and what rules apply to the action that we see on the field. And what's presented to us here is a ball dead in the end zone. And so now we need to figure out what is our ruling. Forward progress was clearly not ruled here, so that's not something that we even need to be discussing.
Yeah. So, you know, then I think, and do you have another poll that you're going to do on this play?
I do.
Okay.
Really,
so I'm just, let's go there.
Okay. Now I'm going to leave the play running. So we talked about what our options are. So now there's the poll. Pretend, and I know I guess since I'm presenting this, I put the presentation together. I already assumed that we were talking touchback, and that's why my whole discussion was geared around that. So pretend the ruling on the field is a touchback. That's what we decided to rule. Pretend that was the ruling on the field. What should the replay official do? As we know, all turnovers are reviewable by rule. So there's two options I gave. I'm sure there's probably multiple other options that we can have here, but I gave you two options about what the replay official should do. Votes are still coming in. All right, I'm going to end the poll here. So about 85% of us said confirm the change of possession and determine that B gained possession of the ball in the field of play. And 16% of us said momentum is not reviewable. And I threw that part in there just to kind of throw people off the scent a little bit. Before we get into discussion, let's go to the slides. Go back to the slides. There is actually a casebook play that discusses momentum. Page 57 in our instant replay casebook, play number 182. So basically, B intercepted a pass near the goal line. The officials ruled a touchback, and replay official had indisputable visual evidence that B possessed the ball at the B1. So the ruling is it's reviewable, and we're going to reverse to B first and 10 on the B1. Now, to get further into our discussion, let's put the play back up. And I may be about to paint myself into a corner, but I'm fine with that. I'll let Brandon help me get out the corner. So we were touchback. Now, there's indisputable visual evidence that B actually possessed the ball in the field of play. So now, when we come out of the instant replay review process, what do we have? Do we have a safety, or do we have B first and 10 at the B1? Because I don't think that the replay process can determine momentum, that if this player's momentum carried him into the end zone or not. But what they can determine from a factual standpoint is he possessed the ball in the field of play. So Brandon, how do you think we would handle that? If it was up to me, I think what we would say is obviously B first and 10 at the B1, because we can't make this a safety coming out of the review process if we never if we incorrectly made it a touchback on the field. I don't see how we could even get there.
No, I agree. You know, and we can have a difference of opinion on if this is the player's original momentum versus him carrying the ball into the end on his own. And really, that's the judgment we want to try to make on the field.
That's correct.
Because let me just filibuster for a second on that. If I flip the scenario around and say the ruling on the field is a safety because we judge that, you know, this defender in the white jersey carried the ball into the end zone on his own, and that's where the ball became dead. Okay, that's not reviewable.
That's correct.
So that's not reviewable at all, because we're not going to we aren't doing anything. The rules do not allow for instant replay to re-officiate whether or not, you know, the player who grabbed this fumble right here and intercepted the fumble, so to speak. The rules do not allow replay to re-officiate whether his momentum carried him into the end zone or not. Okay, so we know that. So I agree with you, though. What the rules do allow, if we rule this a touchback, which we have already covered, that's just obviously wrong. I mean, that's wrong. That can't even happen by rule. It's literally 100% impossible for this to be a touchback, since he basically stole the ball. Okay, now look, the momentum rules apply, you know, and I think we would just be a lot better off going momentum. And I saw a comment in the chat that said momentum only applies to a loose ball. And I thought so too, honestly, until I saw this play. And then you look in the rule too, Todd, and I don't think it even mentions a loose ball, does it?
It does not. There is no mention of loose ball in momentum. And I actually
But it does mention interception. So this is really an interception of a fumble. And gosh, you know, if we talk about cheap turnovers, we talk about cheap, whatever cheap we want to talk about, our philosophies guide us toward not awarding cheap whatever. Well, if we botched this on the field and we needed replay to help us, don't you think it would be really a cheap safety in that case?
I absolutely agree. And I think the point you were making about if we rule it a safety on the field, and I don't know if anyone else has been able to see any of the replay sessions that Dean Blandino has been putting together. we talk about reviewable elements. Really, the reviewable element here is the turnover, change of possession, and also possession in the field of play or in the end zone. So if we rule it a safety, what we're ruling is that the defense gained possession of the ball in the field of play. And that really is all the instant replay process can review at that point.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
All right, anything else before we move on to the next play?
Well, I think we're getting some pretty good consensus. There's a lot of really good comments in the chat that feel like we're really getting, we talked about crew consistency yesterday. This is a little bit of crew consistency today. Why would we punish B for making a great play in this case? And I mean, I don't think of myself punishing anybody when I officiate. We try to administer the rules, but no, that's just tongue in cheek. Yeah, I agree. Why punish the defense for a good play? Agree. No cheap safety. Find a way to make it momentum. This would be a very cheap safety. So, I think we're all on the same page. And this is a tough play. We get to look at it 20 times from different angles, and I haven't seen too much from our replay folks. I may have just missed it, but I wonder if they're on the same page as us saying, if we rule touchback, would they reverse to momentum at the one?
Would they reverse to momentum at the one, or would they reverse to the player had possession at the one? And I think that's what a distinction. I think I was starting to paint myself into a corner, because really all they can tell us is that, it's not a touchback because the defender possessed the ball at the 1 yard line. So
yeah, you're right.
We're actually either saying momentum or safety, and I can't see us coming out of a review process and saying, oh, by the way, yeah, that's a safety. No, I don't think we would ever do that.
Yeah, you're right. You know what? I did exactly what I tried to tell you not to do. I went right to the result of my announcement instead of actually working through the process of possession at the one, which then we can sell by rule as momentum since the ball became dead in the end.
Correct. All right.
And Carl Gertz chimes in agreeing with overturning to possession at the one, and then we can then stretch to the momentum rule. Really good play. Tough on the field. Great job finding this play and putting it in front of us, so that now, look, when we have this, if we have this again, we're prepared to work through this.
Right. And I think the most important thing, the biggest takeaway, is having that discussion on the field as a crew, because sometimes the covering official just has a lot to think about and is not necessarily processing the finer details of the actual rule. So other people who are not the covering official, come on in. You have a little bit of your heart is not racing as much. Come on in, help us out. If we end up with an incorrect ruling on a play. All right, next play. I promise the next play isn't that difficult. I'm going to start the poll, and then I'm going to start the video. Okay, simple punt play. I think that's what is that? Is that oxymoron? Yeah, it's an oxymoron. Simple punt play. Oh, shoot. Hold on. What's going on with the poll? Oh, I turned on the same one. All right, pardon me. Here we go. There's the poll. So at the top, the wideout at the top, A19, he went out of bounds on his own. He was not forced out, okay? So the question we're asking is, why is what he did a foul? And we covered this a little bit before. I know Monty had a play similar with a player out of bounds. Kevin talked about some elements like this. But just very simply, why is it a foul? You got three reasons why it's a foul or it's not a foul. All right, a couple more seconds, and I'm gonna end the poll. All right, you got 60% of us say it's a foul because A19 came back in bounds, and then 36-ish%. These rounding errors really bother me. Golly, 36% of us said it's a foul because A19 was the first player to touch the kick. Well, what does the rule say? And this is a rule session. I am a rules geek. Let's read the rule. FR 69 6-3-12, and I'm going to send out a reference sheet with all of these plays, rule references for these plays afterwards. We'll post it on the website. It'll be a link. No Team A player who goes out of bounds during a scrimmage kick down may return inbounds during the down. So that's pretty simple, right? Of course, this exception is just if he gets blocked out of bounds. We don't need to worry about the exception because that's not what we're saying is he was not blocked out of bounds. He went out on his own. So purely simple. If he goes out of bounds on his own, he cannot come back in on the scrimmage kick play. Very simple. Let's not get confused with the whatever the NFL rule may be. Let's not get confused with what the rule may be for touching of a pass, an ineligible who goes out of bounds and then touches a pass, first to touch a pass. Very simple. Make it simple. If the dude runs out of bounds on his own, he can't come back in the field of play. All right. Next play, rolling. So we got another kick play coming up. I love kick plays. There's always a lot of stuff to talk about on kick plays. There's the poll, and let me get the video up. Here we go. Another simple punt play, right? Then we got all kind of madness happens at the end of the play. So the question we're asking, on the tackle, we had an A player grasp, and pull the face mask of the returner. And then we had, right at the end of the play, an illegal blindside block. So the question we're asking is, what are our enforcement? How are we going to handle the enforcement? And we'll let the play loop a couple more times, and then I'll end the poll. All right, let's end the poll. So we got 60% or somewhere around there. 60% of us said B can keep the ball if they decline A's face mask and enforce their blindside block penalty. We had 18% say since the blindside block foul was at the end of the play, we can treat it as a dead ball foul. And then we have 19% of us say the foul's offset. Neither team has an option. Okay. So we talk about, first of all, the blindside block foul happened during live ball action. Let's not try to get too technical and say, oh, well, the runner might have just been out of bounds when that happened or anything like that. That is a live ball foul. That type of foul is during live ball play. even if the runner had stepped out of bounds, maybe he stepped out of bounds a millisecond before the blindside block occurred, that is a live ball foul. So really what we're dealing with on this play is 2 live ball fouls. So now the question becomes, how do we handle 2 live ball fouls, one against each team? The first question we need to ask ourselves, did the team that ended the play in possession, did they foul prior to gaining possession of the ball? If the answer is no, and we're going with that old clean hands statement here, if B has the ball with clean hands, then they can elect to keep the ball by declining A's penalty and enforcing their own penalty. And let's see where this play ended. This is probably a situation as a crew and as a referee where we probably would not even give Team B's coach an option, because it's pretty obvious, it's fairly obvious that he'll take the ball in this specific scenario. Of course, you have to consider time, score, and all that other stuff. But in general, where this play ends, Team B is going to want to keep the ball at that spot. Let's see where the return ends, because we're going to go 15 back from the 50-yard line. So it'll be Team B's ball, 1st and 10 at the A35, declining the penalty for face mask and enforcing the penalty for illegal blindside block. Both penalties, both fouls will be live ball fouls. Anything from the chat that we need to discuss on this one, Daniel or Brandon?
Hey, Tuta, just want to comment real quick. Man, these are so tough as the back judge to get a really good read off of the punter's foot, and really, really important that we do that, because it's going to give us some sense of what the returner is going to do. And then we want to base our movement. And sorry, this is so kind of myopic to back judges, but just wanted to bring it up real quick, because we're going to base our movement off of the movement of the returner. So, and that's just really challenging to get a feel for where that punt goes. And sometimes we get surprised. But just want to encourage us to keep a 45-degree angle to our returners, so we're able to shift our focus from the process of the catch being completed to finding our blockers in front of the returner, as he's now a ball carrier. Back judge comes in with a really nice call here, it looks like, for the blindside block. Picked that guy coming up pretty early, the wrong direction, but got himself in a little bit of a jam, pinned into the sideline. We just want to try to stay in the middle of the field and keep that initial orientation as long as we can. The other thing I want to mention, there was a comment in the chat about, not being overly technical in terms of live ball, dead ball. And I think that's a great point, but we've got to be really careful, because this is a scale, and we as a community need to be very aware and just conscious that we're not going too far of saying, let's not be too technical, to where we're misapplying rules or misapplying philosophy. So I don't really have a great point. I don't have a great point here, other than let's just be very careful when we say not being too technical, because that's a thing, and we don't want to be, but we can't go too far the other way, where we're trying to make it so simplistic that we're disregarding or just flat out wrong in relation to how we apply the rules.
That's an excellent point. And I think your point is well taken, especially when we have dead ball personal foul type action, where let's say it's just a flat out personal foul, a hit, let's say at the 40-yard line when the play ends at the 50, and it's just somebody just cleaning somebody up. And I think those are ones where I think we want to not be, we maybe do want to say, wait a minute, which way do we want to lean on? Was it dead? Was it live? And that's a good point that you made on that. I think go ahead. I'm sorry, Brandon.
No, that's okay. I was just going to jump in. There is a national philosophy in our CCA manual that if we have doubt, and to Daniel's point, if we have doubt, we make it dead ball.
Correct.
Now, again, let's not confuse doubt being so technical. I mean, there's doubt, and I agree with what you're saying. That philosophy, I think, is more along the lines of, hey, we've got a breakaway for a touchdown, and somebody decides to commit a really dumb personal foul, unfortunately, for unnecessary roughness, for hitting somebody clearly out of the play.
Right.
Now, in that case, that's where, the philosophy really kicks in. Gosh, did that happen before the run across the goal line or after? And if we don't know, make it a dead ball foul. I don't think that really applies here.
Right. Yeah, and Daniel, you made a really good point about the back judge, because really he kind of got himself into a position where he was working the same position as the side judge almost. They both were almost with the exact same view on the play.
Right.
All right. We're going to roll on. Play number 5. This one should go pretty quickly as well. Simple play, right?
Hey, Two Top. Hey, wait a second. Can we? Did you already start it? So hang on. If unsportsmanlike conduct is called on the last play, how would you enforce that? So let's say we've got face mask. Who is that by? By the kicking team?
Yes.
Blindside block by the receiving team. Those are both live ball. And then you have a dead ball. Let's say you have a dead ball on sportsmanlike conduct for taunting. And I guess that was by the receiving team.
Yes.
How does that impact the enforcement? We're not saying it is or it isn't taunting. Top tier coordinators.
Yeah.
We're not even
talking about number
about
17. Yeah, with his little action right there.
That brief little, yeah.
Right. So now we have something that we really need to consider, because if we choose to do the clean hands or enforce the penalties based on clean hands, we would be backing team B up 30 yards for the live ball, illegal blindside block, and the dead ball, unsportsmanlike conduct. So at that point in time, we absolutely have to talk to the coach. And I would guess that the coach would probably, hold on, never mind. I don't know the down and distance on this play. Did we have a TV with down and distance?
So
I don't know, because if we choose to,
yep. B has the option, right? Because they got the ball with clean hands.
Right. 15 automatic first down anyway. Shoot.
That's right. Right. So if they choose, you're right. If they choose offsetting fouls, they're giving the ball to A with an automatic first down.
That's correct.
Otherwise, they can choose to decline offsetting fouls, march them back 15 from the 50, march it back 15 from the 35. So it would really be, they'd be penalized 30 yards.
That's correct.
Yeah,
but that would
be
something that they would keep the ball. But if if we decide to offset the fouls, and then we enforce the unsportsmanlike, because we have to enforce all dead ball fouls. If we enforce the unsportsmanlike, then it's on team against team B, and we go back to the previous spot. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down, and I don't think that team B would want that.
Right. So we had some comments in the chat, and maybe I misconstrued what they were saying, but unsportsmanlike conduct is automatic first down. Well, it is when those rules apply. If it's a dead ball foul after a change where team B is in legal possession and they're going to keep the ball, we don't just turn the ball back to A with an automatic first down. No. I mean, we have to get there by following the penalty enforcement rules.
That's correct.
Yeah. All right.
It'll be similar Daniel, to if there was no foul at all on the play, and then we just had an unsportsmanlike at the end of the round. There's no way we would go back to the previous spot and enforce the 15 yards.
Exactly. So automatic first down applies. Automatic first down applies when all other rule conditions are met.
That's correct.
So I think, Daniel, what was your comment to wrap this play and move on?
Yeah, good conversation about the enforcement. Really good rule stuff. So just changing directions just a little bit, not necessarily a rules application, but I just felt compelled to make this statement. Just a general idea, guys. Let's think about when we call UNS, we're setting a threshold and a standard for how we're going to officiate it all game long, right? So just be very careful when you make that decision that you're going to want to apply that level of that we're going to use that kind of discretion for every. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in a football game that we would rather kids not do. But remember, when we throw that UNS and we've got 1 out of 2 to eliminate him from the game, that we're going to have to be consistent with that all game. And so just a general statement to think about when we're making that decision about UNS or not.
So Daniel, I guess what you're getting at is let's not be heroic on UNS files. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
You can say it. Go ahead. You can say it.
Yeah, man, look, it's an emotional game. Kids are fired
That's
up. They
correct.
do things we don't want them
That's
to do,
correct.
but the side judge does a great job here of being present and getting involved. And let's just be careful with these spontaneous, things that happen real fast. And let's just make sure we want to apply that standard to actions throughout all 60 minutes of the game, and then also next week too.
That's correct. Well, yeah, I'm making light of it, but I know a side judge very well that had a little issue, maybe being a little too technical with an unsportsmanlike conduct foul, and it just it's just not something that we want to make a habit of.
Can we get some footage of that for next session?
I don't think it exists anymore. I didn't see that footage anywhere. I've been looking for it. I can't find it.
Hey, while you guys going on memory lane here, we have another question that would add value to the session. So let's say if we call both the blindside block and UNS, let's just make sure blindside block is not his first unsportsmanlike. That's in the UNR foul code.
That's correct.
So we wouldn't want to make the mistake of, if we do, pull the trigger on this UNS for that action right there, we wouldn't want to disqualify him. And in our new rules, it would really be, if you go that far, it would be an ejection.
That's
so
correct.
he would be walking through the tunnel back to the locker room. But it's not unsportsmanlike conduct. A blindside block is not unsportsmanlike conduct. So let's not confuse that. And if anybody's confused on that, let's make sure we clarify that more.
All right. The producer is tapping me on my shoulder. I don't know what that means, but yeah. Okay. Here we go, producer. Here's the play. Let's pull up the poll. So we're looking at B11. And with this play, obviously, like with all the rest of the plays, they're going to loop a couple of times. And there'll be a little close-up of it as well. B11 is right behind the umpire. Just look right past the umpire. So what we're asking is, so B11 jumped over A77. That's a fact. That's not something that's up for debate. Why is this a foul? That's the part that we're asking, and that's the part that may be up for debate. Why is this a foul? And then you have 3 options why it's a foul. And then the 4th option is it's not a foul. And the play will loop a bunch of times. Let it loop maybe one more time, and then I'll end the poll, and then we'll talk about it. All right, I'm getting ready to end the poll. If they got any last minute votes. All right, ending the poll. So 54% of us said it's a foul because B jumped over A77 and did not jump through the gap. 21% of us said it's a foul because B11 touched A77. What the world was that? And then 24% of us said it's not a foul. Okay. What does the rule say? Because that's what's going to determine the answer to this deal, right? Oh, we talked about offsetting fouls last time. Leaping, leverage and leaping. Okay. So no defensive player may step, jump, or stand on an opponent. Did he step, jump, or stand on the opponent? No, he did not. So part B under 9-1-11 says is a foul if a defensive player moves forward and tries to block a kick on a field goal or try by leaving his feet and leaping into the plane directly above the frame of the body of an opponent. Did he do that? Yes, he did. But what does the next sentence say? It is not a foul if the player was aligned in a stationary position within 1 yard of the line of scrimmage when the ball was snapped. So was B11 aligned in a stationary position within 1 yard of the line of scrimmage when the ball was snapped? I think the answer is yes. If we go back and look, so we see what B11 is lined up. He's within a yard of the line of scrimmage. He's stationary. So him jumping over an opponent is not a foul. Very important for us to understand that. Side judges, umpires especially, we absolutely have to know the kicking rules. So as a side judge, what I used to do is identify my leapers before, as everybody's setting up, as the defense is setting up, and I would audibly yell out the number of all of the quote-unquote leapers, because those are the players that I need to worry about. So we got, I can't even read those numbers, 41, 2, 6. What I would say as a side judge, 41 is a leaper, 2 is a leaper, 6 is a leaper. And they can leap if they want to leap. They can do whatever they want to do, but they know that I'm now watching them. The down linemen, I'm really not concerned if they jump over anybody else because this is not a foul. It's only a foul if they step, jump, or stand on the opponent. Now, if we talk about leverage, because we say he put his hands on him, is it legal for the defensive lineman to put his hands on the opponent and gain elevation? Well, let's see what the rule says. So if we look at D, 9-1-11D, no defensive player in attempt to block, bat, or catch a kick may, number 2, place a hand on a teammate to get leverage for additional height. So if he wants to put his hands on the offensive player and push himself upwards and try to get leverage that way, that is not a foul. So it's very important that we understand what is a foul and what is not a foul when we're down here getting ready for these field goal and try plays. So the answer to this previous poll question and what actually ends up happening here on the play is this is not a foul. Any comments or questions from the chat?
Yeah, what about hurdling?
I'm not.
Come on, I couldn't resist. Come on.
I know you could. I'm not touching that.
So, no, it's okay. So hurdling by definition is jumping when you're leading with your feet.
Feet or knees, correct.
Yeah. So this
and not only that, Brandon, if you want to get into it, the only thing that can be touching the ground of the person you hurdle is the feet. And number 77 never got his hands off the ground, so that wouldn't be hurdling either, if we really want to get that deep into it.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
All right.
Really good play. You know, I mean, we talk about these a lot because I think sometimes officials can be misconstrued on these rules, but we know coaches and players maybe don't have a firm grasp of these rules. So we have to correct. It's up to us. You know, I know the old saying that the coaches need to know the rules. Okay, whatever. I mean, it's our job to administer the rules, and it's our job even more to be communicators about what the rules mean in practical application. And this is a great play to help us out with that.
Right. And, you know, the interesting thing is when the audio on this, you can hear the announcer and the announcer saying, and he explained to everybody why this was a foul. And then he even referenced Dean Blandino. And he said, Dean Blandino said last week that this is a foul and this has to be called. I'm just laughing as I was, the announcers have no clue. So it is very much incumbent upon us as the officials to understand and apply the rules properly.
Great play to include for just general learning.
Yeah. So just one quick thing, because we just want to make sure we understand, it's not a foul to put your hands on an opponent. Okay, leverage is only leverage is only applies when you put your hands on your teammate.
That's correct.
It's as explicitly written in the rules as it can be. So let's there we go.
Yep. All right, last play. We got another good one. Let's get the poll up first. All right. We're asking a simple question. Where are we next going to snap the ball? Here's the play. This is a field goal situation. It's not a try. It's a field goal. I'm going to let the play loop a couple more times. Get your votes in, get your votes in, get your votes in. All right, getting ready to end the poll. We should have seen what happened by now and been able to make our decision. All right, end the poll. All right, 53% of us said the ball is next going to be snapped at the B7, which is where the run ended. 39% of us said we're going to go to the B20. And 6% of us said the ball is dead when A81 recovered it. And we're going to go to the B9 for the next play. Okay, so let's talk about unsuccessful field goals. Why did I start that play? I shouldn't have done that. I want to go to the slideshow. Unsuccessful field goal attempt. Number one, if the ball untouched by team B after crossing the neutral zone. Okay, well, we can stop there. And just let me go off on a little side note about reading these rules and like not clouding your mind with extraneous information that really doesn't help you understand what happened. If we're trying to figure out, if we're watching TV and we see this play and we're like, golly, how are we supposed to enforce that? And you go to the rule book and you pull up field goal, unsuccessful field goal, and then you see it says untouched by B after crossing the neutral zone. Well, shoot, that can't be what we're going to use. We're not going to even use that rule right now, right? Because the ball never crossed the neutral zone. So we go to number two. Number two says if the ball does not cross the neutral zone, all right, yeah, now we back in our wheelhouse here. If the ball does not cross the neutral zone, or if team B touches the ball after it crosses the neutral zone, but that ain't what happened because the ball just never crossed the neutral zone, all rules pertaining to scrimmage kicks apply. What does that mean? That means this is nothing but a punt play. Let's say we have a blocked punt that does not cross the neutral zone and team A picks the ball up and starts running, would we ever decide that we're going to put the ball on the 20-yard line or somewhere else? No, we would not. We would just give the ball to team B. If team A did not reach the line to gain, we would give the ball to team B wherever the play ended, right? So let's not make this thing complicated. I know it's a field goal, so we probably start thinking, oh, God, we're thinking all kind of stuff. But the ball never crossed the neutral zone, so all rules pertaining to scrimmage kicks apply. So this is nothing but a punt play, if that helps you think about it. That helps me think about it and process it a little easier. Since the ball never crossed the neutral zone, it remains live, as we know. Team A can pick it up and advance it. And if Team A reaches the line to gain, it will be Team A's ball, first down, at whatever spot the ball is dead. Let's go to the play. I don't remember if this was 4th and goal or if there was a line to gain or not involved. But basically, when this kick never crossed the neutral zone, 4th and goal. Okay. When a kick never crossed the neutral zone, it remains a live ball. So if Team A picked this up and run into the end zone, well, guess what we got? We got a touchdown. But all rules pertaining to scrimmage kicks apply. All right. Let me go to the next poll. And I know we're going to have a whole lot of discussion on this. So we're going to pretend there's the poll. Pretend the crew spots the ball at the B20. What are the reviewable elements of the play that our replay officials can use to correct the spot? And while we're talking about that, I forgot to mention the ball is not dead where Team A possessed it because the kick never went beyond the neutral zone. A kick that goes beyond the neutral zone is dead once possessed by A. But this is not the case here. The ball never went beyond the neutral zone. So now we're in a situation where, okay, well, the crew maybe put the ball on the 20. What do we do now? If we're sitting up there in the replay booth, we're Mr. Carl Gertz, and I saw Paul Werner in here too. If we're Paul Werner and Carl Gertz and anybody else who's on, I haven't had the chat up for a while, so I don't know what other replay officials we have in the room. What are we going to do now? The crew put the ball at the 20. What are we supposed to do? And I'm going to let the play loop a few more times, and we get our votes in, and I'm going to end the poll soon. And I think a play like this and a play like play number 2 really illustrates the importance of our replay officials having a very good understanding of the rules, much like the on-field officials. I know sometimes and I've actually heard people say that, well, replay officials don't have to know the rules as well. Well, that's just simply not the case. The replay officials have to know the rules just as much as the on-field officials for situations that may arise if we make a mistake on the field. Okay, let me end the poll. 52% of us said kick beyond the neutral zone. 30% of us said touching of a kick. And then 16% of us said there are no reviewable elements that would change the ruling on the field. All right, let's go to the slides and we'll come back to the film. FR 109, 12.3.4, Rule 12.3.4, reviewable plays involving a kick. Touching of a kick is reviewable. Now, we can debate on what touching of a kick means and when it applies. But look at number D, letter D, scrimmage kick crossing the neutral zone. So we talked about a touchback, right? If we put the ball on the 20-yard line, what we're saying is that, let's look at number one. If the ball untouched by B after crossing the neutral zone is dead, it belongs to B. And then B is next going to snap the ball at the previous spot or at the 20-yard line if the previous spot was between the 20-yard line and the goal line. So if we put the ball at the 20-yard line, what we are telling, absent of an announcement, what we are telling everyone is that we determined that the ball was an unsuccessful field goal beyond the neutral zone. And that clearly is not the case here. So as a replay official, looking at letter D here, we know that the scrimmage kick did not cross the neutral zone. So there's no way that we can put the ball on the 20-yard line. And so I don't know if we want to get into, and I don't want to get, I'm not going to get into competitive effect and all that other stuff, but just simply, what is a reviewable element? The reviewable elements are, and the first one is touching of a kick and scrimmage kick crossing the neutral zone. Now, in my opinion, touching of a kick is not necessarily relevant, because whether the ball was touched by team B or touched by team A behind the line of scrimmage, the result of the play is not going to change. So it doesn't matter who touched the ball, because the ball never crossed the neutral zone. So who touched it is really, to me, in my opinion, irrelevant in this case. I think the most appropriate answer on this poll question would be, did the kick cross the neutral zone or not? And that helps us determine, can we spot the ball at the 20, or do we need to spot the ball at the dead ball spot? All right, Daniel, Brandon, what we got?
So let's try to figure out how to get this play right, because I think the last poll said, yeah, pretend the crew spots the ball at the 20. So
yeah,
you know, we have to be thinking about how we're going to communicate this. And you know, as a lot of officials here have a chance to really see all this action and kind of put the pieces together. But we basically have to get to a ruling on the field. If we don't announce anything, we just spot the ball at the 20, you know, it might be a little bit confusing. And I see that Carl and Paul and there was one other, Richard, thanks. You know, they're really advocating use of the 020, which is fine. But if we talk about what's reviewable and how to get that. So how are we going to get to a ruling on the field, basically putting the pieces together of the rules that you just said? And work with me here. Yeah. So we're spotting the ball at the 20. What is our ruling on the field? What is our ruling on the field? Because we really want to make an announcement about that.
Right. And I think that kind of goes back to what we were talking about before. When we start crafting our announcement and we start thinking about it, we make it to the point where we say, well, shoot, we can't spot this ball on the 20. As a center judge, as a referee, I've never been back there when the kick was blocked in my vast experience as a referee. But I would assume that I would know that ball got blocked behind the line of scrimmage or neutral zone. I keep saying line of scrimmage, behind the neutral zone, and the ball never crossed the neutral zone. So I would hope that, knowing that as a referee, and then having, you know, whatever discussions we have, because I may have a brain fart, and I may lock up a little bit mentally as we start discussing this, and we start talking about, well, hold on, how can we put the ball on the 20? This ball never crossed the neutral zone. So I think just having those discussions will get us to the point where I don't know if we will be able to make an announcement and put the ball on the 20, because I would think that we will get to the point where we say, well, we can't put this ball on the 20, so we will never even get to the point where we have that announcement. So hopefully, we would have,
unless what could happen is we just kind of
misapply the rule.
Kind of lose but no, we misjudge the point where he controlled the football. Okay, because a lot of times players are going to do this. They're going to scoop this ball up and try to advance it, and whether it's this is clearly behind the neutral zone. I'm just go with me here. I mean, I've kind of been a part of some of these situations. So basically, if a fellow crew member, because maybe I didn't see this as a referee or whatever, but I know I want to make an announcement. Referees, 100%, we have to make an announcement on this play to say why we're putting the ball where we're putting it, whether we put it at the 7, the 9, the 20, the previous spot, wherever. We got to make an announcement, in my opinion. So what could happen is I might say, let's put the ball at the 20. Well, why are we putting it at the 20? Oh, and then we have kind of a rule session on the field. So are you telling me, Mr. Line Judge or whatever, are you telling me that he controlled the ball beyond the neutral zone? Yes, that's what I'm saying. Okay, great. The ruling on the field is the kicking team possessed the ball beyond the neutral zone. Therefore, by rule, the ball be placed at the 20-yard line. It's first down, North Texas. And then at that point, replay has a really solid ruling on the field to go off of to overturn that ruling. You see what I'm saying?
No. How can I'm lost when you're saying that he controlled
because it's very easy. Sure, it's very easy for us in all this chaos just to misjudge where the ball was controlled. It's very easy for that to happen.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying it's still a kick until it's possessed.
Absolutely. So
okay, I didn't get that's what you were saying. Yes.
Never mind.
I'm with you.
I'm just doing a lot of what ifs here. Never mind the fact that the ball never ever got beyond the neutral zone here. But if somebody comes to me as referee, and this would poor visual mechanics on my part, saying, well, look, the ball never even got beyond the neutral zone, period, on this play. But again, just pretend I'm distracted by other things. If somebody comes to me, we got to put this ball at the 20. I got to have the rules knowledge and the presence of mind as a referee, because I'm trying to craft my announcement to say, well, if we're putting it beyond the 20, then that means it crossed the neutral zone, before the kicking team controlled the football.
That's
right?
correct. That's correct.
So then that's what I want to say in my announcement, because these are all things that are reviewable, and it really allows the replay crew to, again, we open up all tools in our toolbox to be able to get these plays right. Now, hopefully what happens, and I love our replay guys, but let's forget about them for a second. Hopefully what happens is if somebody comes to me and says, we got to put this ball at the 20. So, okay, that's fine. So you're telling me the ball was possessed beyond the neutral zone? No. This is a missed goal. No, hang on. You want to put it at the 20. That means the ball was possessed beyond the neutral zone. Well, no. I want to put it at the 20 because it was a missed field goal. Well,
right.
If you're telling me the ball was never possessed beyond the neutral zone, Team B never had touched the ball, never had control. This is all Team A. If they never possessed the ball beyond the neutral zone, then this ball belongs at the dead ball spot.
That's correct.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Thank you for reminding. Let's put it there. Now we make that announcement. The ruling on the field was the kicking team possessed the ball in the backfield. By rule, the ball be placed at the dead ball spot. It's first down, North Texas. We want to be very, very descriptive in terms of adding these rules elements in so that we can let all of our officials understand these rules and apply them in real time. And we can just take our time and get to the right result here.
Yes. Excellent point. And that's definitely one thing I'm going to carry with myself forward, is understanding the necessity to properly craft the announcement and to make the announcement on situations where the action on the field deems that we need to make an announcement. And this is one where obviously we need to make an announcement here.
That's right. Because then there's a really good, another what if brought up in the chat. Let's say, is number 81 the player? Yeah. Let's say number 81, he basically muffs that ball forward.
Yep.
All right. So now we have the ball loose beyond the neutral zone. Okay.
Yep.
See, and that's why it's so important. We want to really start talking about making these announcements, because then different rules come into play. And, if we just basically set this ball at the 20 and blow the next ready for play, we've done the game an injustice. We really have. And I don't care. Like you said, direct competitive effect. I think our threshold is 10. So putting it at the 7 versus the 20, that seems to me to be a direct competitive effect. But, then at least let's allow the replay official or whoever, our crewmates, at least let's allow them all the information and the capability to get this play right.
Right. And absent an announcement, we're asking them to basically re-officiate the play, kind of what you alluded to earlier.
And that's exactly right. And that's not their job. That's not their job. Their job, if we're talking replay, their job is to know what the ruling on the field is and then apply Rule 12 to get the play right. It's not their job to infer what we're ruling.
Right.
It's our job to tell them what they're ruling, and it's their job to apply Rule 12 so that we really do try to get every single play right with every tool available to us.
Right. Excellent point. All right. Another session in the books. I'm sure we probably still have some more.
Yeah, now good plays. I mean, really good rules plays. Remember we were talking about, man, how are we going to come up with enough plays for all these rule sessions? Well, I mean, these rules, they're endless, right? And there's so much good officiating going on. There's so much content around that that really show these intricate and detailed rules, and then going deeper, what's the process we need to go through to actually apply the rules? Because, like we said, we can't just put the ball down and expect everything to be okay, right?
Right.
Good work. All right, I think the questions are tailing off, man. You nailed another one, Tutar. Good job, Daniel. You got anything?
No, awesome job. Gosh, great conversation there at the last play. Great plays overall. We got better today, Tutar. Thanks, man.
Yes, we did.
I appreciate the opportunity to sit here and just talk about some plays that I just happen to stumble upon. It's always just interesting, and I love hearing other perspectives. I love hearing what other people thinking, because obviously I have a preconceived notion. When I see a play, I'll say, "Oh man," and these are the things I'm thinking about. And then someone else will see the play, and they'll think about 2 or 3 other elements that I never even considered. So that's why I always love it. And then we have the chat with people chiming in on chat. So this is just a great opportunity. I just love doing all this, and yeah, I'm getting better too. Shit, excuse me, golly, here I go again. I'm getting better because number one, I get to read the rules. Number two, I get to understand the different elements of a play from another person's viewpoint, and it just makes me a better official. So I'm really cheating by presenting these rule sessions. I'm cheating on everybody and just making myself better.
That's so true. How much better do you get just preparing these plays, and finding plays, analyzing plays? I mean, and you just do an incredible job, man. I really appreciate it.
All right, next session, I think we have it scheduled for the 23rd, but we may be moving that. Brandon, is that the case?
Yeah, I think, we're going to try to pull off another position breakout visual organic section.
Yep.
But we had it for the 23rd. I don't think that date's going to work. So just check the schedule. We'll figure it out. It might be.
Everybody keep up with the schedule.
Yep. And, thanks again for the participation in that little experiment yesterday. We had a blast, and I feel like a lot of the community did as well. So, man, take us home. Good work.
All right. Good night, everybody. Have a great Sunday. Back to work tomorrow, I guess, sadly.